The next talk today comes from Wendy Clack. Wendy heads up Clack Communications, where she is a business-to-business tech copywriter. This session is all focused around how you can use human-centered content to increase your business results and your marketing return on investment. I hope you enjoy this session, and I'll see you on the other side.
I have a question for you. Why isn't all of the time and money and effort you're spending on producing content like blogs and articles and videos, why aren't they getting the attention that they deserve? Why are you spending so much time putting all of this stuff out there and having maybe one person or two people click on it? What is the secret in order to get more people to pay attention to your content? What's going wrong? The harsh truth is that, as the godfather of content marketing said, if your audience isn't listening, it's not their fault, it's yours. I know, that sounds harsh, right? But the good news is there are things you can do today in order to get more engagement on your content. So what is content? That's a term that we throw around a lot in content marketing. But essentially, it's anything you see listed here. So blogs, articles, videos, podcasts. You're probably doing at least one of these things in your company, maybe more, maybe you're doing all of them. Essentially, content is just stuff that your company puts out there to increase awareness about your brand, in order to drive people to your website, in order to get more customers, increase your sales, improve your SEO. There's a lot of reasons why people put content out there. So really simply, it is just stuff. And a lot of the B2B companies especially, but B2C is guilty of this too, they produce content like it's a contest. So they are throwing out all kinds of stuff and then getting really frustrated when they're not seeing that return on investment that they're putting so much time into in making all of the content. Because as you know, this stuff takes a lot of time to produce. The sad truth is that a lot of this stuff goes nowhere. And why is that? So with all of the B2B tech companies that I've worked with, the number one problem that I see is that so much of their content is all about the company. So you're talking only about you. So your company, your services, your successes, your software features. But guess who your target customer cares about more than anything in the whole world? Themselves. And that sounds harsh, but guess what? It's human nature. We are all the same. All of us care the most about ourselves. So for example, if someone tags you in a group photo that was taken at a wedding and they put it on Facebook, when you look at the group photo, who is the first person you look at in the picture? Yourself. Again, it's just human nature. And I'm not in this picture, but you can bet if I was, that's the first person I would be looking at, even though it's full of all these celebrities. It's just human nature. And what we're seeing here is there's a psychology about purchasing decisions. And I'm sure if you've worked in business for any number of years, you are well acquainted with the idea of the head versus heart philosophy. So this cartoon, even though it's really humorous, is not an accurate description of what goes on with the head and the heart. The old adage goes that the heart is what drives the purchasing decisions, and then afterwards you use your head to justify it. And the key thing with the heart is the heart thrives on emotion. So we are hardwired to pay attention to emotional triggers. And some of these have been identified by a brand advisor to Oprah named Jennifer Kim. And she said that ultimately the desire to belong, to make the right choice, and to meet basic human needs, including health, wealth, relationships, and happiness, these are all key emotional triggers that make us sit up and listen. It ultimately comes back to the desire to gain power and status. So above all, our heart and our brain are spending all day long sifting through information, trying to figure out how it's going to help us survive and thrive. It's looking for ways that we can get ahead and that the people we care about can get ahead. So you might be saying to yourself, right, but my company sells software as a service to other companies. Where's the emotion in that? And okay, so your software may not necessarily be emotional, but the truth is that people want to connect with your company. And in order to do that, they need to have emotion. So let's talk a little bit about human connection, because whether or not you're in B2B, B2C, doesn't matter. What you're really in the business of is human to human marketing. So this is a handshake. Remember when we used to be able to do those? Even if you're selling your services to another business, you are dealing with people, and people want to deal with people that they trust. So the key to get someone's attention is to be able to tap into that emotion. And a lot of companies that I work with at first, they're kind of uncomfortable with this idea because they think that it's some form of emotional manipulation. And the first thing that comes to their head are, those adverts during daytime television for charities that show like sad donkeys and dirty water and that kind of thing. That's not what we're talking about here, because obviously, what do sad donkeys have to do with software? Not a whole lot. But it's not about bending people's emotions to get them, into buying what we have to offer. It's about making a connection and helping people make that connection with what you sell. So if you do this right, the emotion that people are going to get from your content is they get me. And see this beautiful stock image of this lady who looks so relieved. That's how you want people to feel when they finally stumble upon your content that they've been looking for forever. So that's the emotion that we're trying to tap into. Again, it's not manipulating people. It's not trying to create emotion that isn't already there. It's relating to your customers and the emotions that drive their purchasing decisions in a way that helps them trust you and makes them want to buy from you. So every piece of content you produce should do one of three things. It should educate, entertain, or inspire. So we'll get back to that in 1 second. But I wanted to show you an example of a company that has done that I think just really resonated with me. So Squarespace, you probably have heard about them before. So they make website templates for businesses. And I really love, so this is their landing page. And I really love this bit right here. It says, a website makes it real. And I love that because that's exactly how I felt when I was setting up my own company's website for the first time. That's what I really wanted. I wanted something to make it feel real, to make my company feel legitimate. So they did a really good job in tapping into that emotion that I felt. And I also really liked this. It says, look like an expert right from the start. That's another big driver behind why people are setting up their own company's websites, that they want to look professional. They want to look trustworthy. They want to convince customers, obviously, to buy from them. So again, Squarespace is really tapping into those emotions that people are feeling when they come. Another one I really like is MailChimp. So they are an email marketing campaign platform. And I used to use them in a previous role that I had. And as you can see from here, right before you send a campaign, the monkey hand that's pushing the button, it starts to sweat. And the longer you wait to hit send, the more it sweats. And I really like that because that's exactly how you feel before you send out a big email campaign to all kinds of people. Again, I feel like they did a really good job of tapping into that emotion that I feel. And again, this is no sad donkeys here. This isn't charity stuff. This is B2B, but it's tapping into that emotion that drives these human decisions. And a final one I like is from the American retailer Target. So I really loved just this little line in the subject line. So I ordered something from them, and I love this. It says, "Don't you love this part?" And that's exactly how I feel. I don't know how you feel when you get something delivered, but I get really excited. And again, I thought that was a really nice kind of subtle way of tapping into that human emotion. So again, like I said before, everything you produce, it needs to educate, entertain, or inspire. And sometimes, some things that you produce will be a combination of those. So how do you know for example, with the educate, how do you know if something you're producing meets that criteria, that it's going to educate your customers and potential customers on something that they actually really care about? So again, our godfather of content marketing, Seth Godin, says, "We sell feelings, status, and connection, not tasks or stuff." So as far as educating people, there's a really good website called Answer the Public. I don't know if you've heard about it, but a really good way of creating content that people are going to enjoy, and it's going to improve your SEO, is by answering people's questions. So Answer the Public is a really interesting website where you can enter a keyword, so something related to what you're selling, and it's going to tell you what people are searching for on Google to try and answer, these questions around your topic keyword. So for example, I just hit video conferencing. Let's pretend you have a video conferencing platform and you want to know what people are asking you about it. So again, typed in video conferencing, and then it brings up this kind of overwhelming at first chart. I know it looks a bit much, but these are all these different questions that people are asking around video conferencing. So 3 of them that I pulled out, which could easily make blogs or videos, are which video conferencing uses the least amount of data, how can video conferencing help in education, and how can I screen share during video conferencing. So again, those are just 3 questions that I pulled out just from searching video conferencing, and that helps you get a really good idea of, again, those burning questions that your customers and potential customers have. Another good site to look at is called Also Asked. So it's kind of similar to Answer the Public, but what it shows you, instead of what people are searching for, when you do a Google search and you're kind of scrolling down the page, it'll show you other things that people ask that are related to what you typed in. So again, I just typed in video conferencing, and here's 3 things that it pulled up. What are the different types of video conferencing? What are the basic requirements for video conferencing? And how do I do video conferencing on my computer? So those are some really good websites to think about, and just see what people are searching for. Another good source is talking to your sales team and your customer support team, because they are on the front line all the time. They're dealing with customers and potential customers, and they will be able to tell you the most frequently asked questions, the most common complaints, the biggest hangups that customers have. And if you can turn all of those things into different pieces of content, then you know that you are in the right direction, and you're going to be attracting the kind of people that you're trying to sell to in the first place, but in a non-salesy kind of way. So the most popular bit of education content I've ever produced was this. It was kind of a random one. I don't usually post things like this, but on my LinkedIn, that's my social media platform that I use the most, because I do mainly B2B. I work with B2B companies, and that's the main place they are. But a few weeks ago, I had just gotten tired of my profile pic, and I wanted a new one, but obviously with all of us being in lockdown, I couldn't get a photographer. I couldn't even, go outside to take a nice picture. So I decided I couldn't wait until all of the lovely pandemic blows over, and I just decided to take my own picture and then just, mess around with the background so that it looked like somewhat professional. So I just decided to make a little PDF and put it on my my LinkedIn page, and I was so surprised. Like, I got so much engagement, so many people reshared it and thanked me for the content. And again, it's not necessarily anything to do with my own company, but it just goes to show that I was able to tap into a common, question that other people had. Maybe people don't want to pay for their own profile pictures, and maybe they're like me and couldn't actually get a photographer to take them. But it just goes to show that there's a lot of different ways that you can educate, you can entertain, you can inspire people. So one thing to keep in mind is that the most important person, like we said before, in a customer's life is themselves. So we are all the heroes in our own movie that is our lives. And every person sees themselves as the hero in their own story. So too many people make the content all about their company, like I said before. And one way to know how well you're doing is to look at your own website and some recent social media posts, and just keep a tally of how many times you say we and us versus you. We pride ourselves on blah, blah, blah. Our service is the best, blah, blah, blah. We've won X number of awards. It's almost like being on a first date with someone who can't stop talking about themselves. Yeah, you need to tell people about what you do. But if you only ever talk about yourself, you're probably not going to get a second date. I really like Radix Communications website. They're an agency that's based in Cornwall, and I only recently came across them in the last few weeks, but I loved their landing page. So they say, typical, you spend ages looking for a B2B copywriter who can deliver the goods, then along comes a whole warehouse of them. And I loved that because so many other agencies, again, are talking about all about the awards they won, about how great they are, whatever. But this is an agency that specifically works with B2B tech companies and provides copywriting services. And I love that they are tapping into that emotion of why people come to them in the first place. They're trying to find a good B2B copywriter. And what the message is that this agency is sending is, you're in the right place. And I think that is a really, really effective way, again, of tapping into that emotion. And once again, the customer is coming to this and saying, they get me. And that's how you know you're on the right track. Let's talk about some common issues that people have when they're talking about producing content for their customers and potential customers. So the Harvard marketing professor Theodore Levitt famously said, people don't want to buy a 1/4-inch drill, they want a 1/4-inch hole. But so many companies, again, especially tech companies, and especially B2B tech companies, they will spend all of their time talking about the drill, right? The drill. It's all about the drill. But actually, as the marketing professor pointed out, people don't care about the drill. They care about the hole. And actually, if you kind of dive into that even further, people don't even care about the hole. They are wanting to hang up pictures of their children. So instead of saying we sell drills, which is true, no one's going to fault you for that. It's true, you sell drills. But instead of saying we sell drills, you could say we make it easy to hang up your favorite memories. And again, that's not overly sappy or, it's not overly emotional, but it's connecting with customers and tapping into the reason why they are searching for you in the first place. You're helping them solve their problems. So let's talk about some really practical ways to help get more interaction. Again, after you've considered everything we've talked about making content that's specifically tuning into the needs of your customers and potential customers, what are some really practical ways that you can get started with this? So one thing is to have a really descriptive title and headline. So what you're asking people to do by interacting with your content, you're asking them to trade their time and their attention for something you have to offer. So you need to make sure people understand what it is you're offering and that they feel like it's worthwhile. So again, MailChimp, they're not sponsoring this talk. I just think they're really good at the B2B content marketing side of things. So they did this post on LinkedIn. It says, marketing is one of the most common challenges for small businesses. Want more insight? Read our full report. So that's really, really simple, but you know exactly what you're going to get if you click that link. Another example is Sitecore. So their headline, again, this is a little bit more, it might be seen as a little bit more jargony, but they are so in tune with what their customers are looking for that they can be really specific. So again, mastering customer experience requires a trifecta of success with commerce, content, and customer data. So again, when you read that, you know exactly what you're going to get. And then if you scroll down to this article, another really helpful thing is to have subheaders. So you probably know from your own experience reading articles online that people don't read everything word for word. They skim to try and find the information that they're looking for. So try and make it really easy on people who are looking at your content to get through it really quickly. And again, you do this by having subheaders and organizing it in a way that makes a lot of sense so that people don't have to think that hard. You're kind of giving them everything they need to be able to look at your content and get the message that you want them to get from it. Make it easy on people, and you're going to have a lot more engagement. So another thing to bring up is understanding how people consume. Again, that's another really content marketing jargony word, but for lack of a better one, how people consume your content. The mobile giant Verizon did some research last year, and they found out that 69% of people who are viewing video content on their mobile phones do so with the sound off. So what that tells you is you need to be thinking about when you're posting videos on social media, does it make sense without the sound on, first and foremost? And also, do you have subtitles on there? Have you captioned your videos? Because again, with that research that Verizon did, 80% of people said that they're going to be more likely to finish an entire video if there's captions on there. So if people are scrolling through, they don't have headphones, they're in a public place, chances are they're not going to be turning the volume on. So it's just, it goes even beyond the need to make your content accessible, which you do need to do. It goes even beyond that because people who are not hard of hearing are viewing videos with subtitles as well. So again, that's just it sounds really simple, but just making sure you're giving your content the highest chance of success. Finally, let's talk about length. So this is another question I get asked all the time. Like, what is the ideal article length? How long should my blog post be? How long should my video be? And I've seen all kinds of stats out there about, how people, their attention span is only 40 seconds or whatever the latest stat is that people are throwing out about how long your content should be. The answer is your content should be as long as it needs to be in order to get the job done. So you don't need to artificially cut something short when actually your customers are going to benefit from you going a bit more in depth. And likewise, no one's going to benefit from you waffling on for 1,500 words just because that's what people say you should do in order to get, the good SEO. Yeah, there's an SEO component to it. But the point is, if people only have 40 seconds, if that's really the only attention span of people, then how come I spent 5 minutes last week watching a video on how to make homemade hamburger buns, right? I watched it because I wanted to know all of the information that was in there. And I don't want to brag, this was my end result, and I'm pretty proud of those hamburger buns. Ultimately, don't be afraid to experiment with this. A final quote from our favorite godfather of content marketing, Seth Godin. He said, the cost of being wrong is less than the cost of doing nothing. So don't be afraid to experiment. Try all kinds of different styles of content and promoting them in different ways, and just see what sticks. See what your audience is in tune with. As long as you are making it relevant for them and answering those burning questions that they have, you're not going to go wrong. So make sure that you aren't afraid of trying different things, of being willing to stand out to make a difference in the lives of the people that you're trying to reach. And if you put them at the heart of it, and you take yourself out of it, and remember to make them the hero, you're going to see so much more engagement. You're going to see more site visitors, and eventually, as you know, that leads to, hopefully, making people new customers. Some research shows that people consume an average of 3 to 5 pieces of content from a company before they're willing, before they even make contact with that company and before they're willing to buy. So it's definitely worth putting some thought into making content. Just make sure you're doing it for them, not to make the sale, not to make your company look great. They are the hero. And I promise you, if you do this, you are going to see such better results. If you have any other questions, please let me know. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I'm really happy to help you if I can. And I can't wait to see the content you make.